teacher have very special relationship with me because the first time for us to meet each other was yesterday. But I believe we will be the best friends in the future. His name is Jimmy Mitchell. I think the business trade between Canada and China, the very difficult thing is it's hard to find someone know about China, could understand the China policy deeply, and also know the demands from the Canadian. But Jimmy Mitchell is such guys. He used to work in the China for more than 30 years. So let's welcome Mr. Jimmy Mitchell to have the presentation.
There we go. 张女士、李总。各位来宾、各位朋友，大家好。That was meant to confuse the interpreters. I'm going to be going back and forth, so you guys got to be on the ball. It's my great pleasure to be representing AdvantageBC this morning, and a pleasure to be at today's conference. I just want to give a quick shout out to the people I work with and work for. I believe Colin Hanson is in the room. Is he here? Colin Hanson, our president and CEO of AdvantageBC, and Ron Bozzer, the chair of our board at AdvantageBC. So if anybody has any questions about AdvantageBC after this presentation, you'll have more people to talk to than just me. So a quick advertisement. Who are we at AdvantageBC? I think a lot of people know our name, but may not necessarily know what it is that we do. We have been around for 30 years. 今年算是我们30周年的，从我们那个1988年成立了，1986年成立了。And we do a number of things, among which we really try and position British Columbia as a destination for companies that are looking to do international business and finance. Whether it's a Canadian company that wants to go global, or whether they are foreign companies that want to come to Canada to service an international marketplace. So we do so through a variety of means, one of which I'll get into later, which is we do promote a very special tax program on behalf of the BC government called the International Business Activity Program, and I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. So this just gives you an idea. So we are a membership organization. We have somewhere between, I know the numbers are different here, but we have somewhere around 175 members. 我们大多数的会员公司都是金融机构. And that has to do with the history of our organization. So among our members, you can see, for example, we have Bank of China and ICBC Canada, who actually avail themselves of our special tax program, as well as a lot of the Canadian banks and financial institutions. There we go. So for those in the room who are coming from China, we like to tell, first of all, a Canadian story. Why would you come and invest in Canada, or why would you want to come and do business in a Canadian context? And the Canadian story is a very great business story for companies looking to come into North America. Our economy is robust, it's growing quickly. We have all sorts of trade agreements, international trade agreements, which make it easy to do business here. We have bilateral tax treaties, which are very advantageous to companies coming to North America. And we have the soundest banking system in the world. And I think a lot of people don't realize that coming out of the financial crisis in 2008, 2009, no Canadian banks needed a bailout. And so that says something about the robust somewhat conservative, but very sound banking system that we have from the regulatory point of view. So people coming to invest in Canada have financial security, and we believe that's an important feature of companies that are going to invest overseas. Of course, if you look out the window, you look at Vancouver, it's a beautiful city, but we believe at AdvantageBC that's actually probably the least important talking point, because all you have to do is visit Vancouver and you'll see what a beautiful city is. It is our view that it's not only one of the most beautiful cities in the world, but it's actually one of the best places to do business from a number of different measuring sticks. You look at our economic position. BC has the lowest debt to GDP ratio in the country. The provincial government has been producing balanced budgets for a number of years, and most importantly, we have a AAA credit rating, which you cannot say of every jurisdiction in North America. So we have that going for us. We're also very competitive, both from a business cost perspective and a tax perspective, and I'll be talking a lot about tax in the next few minutes. Tax is important. Tax is not necessarily sexy, but it's important to understand the role that tax plays in the planning of companies that are looking to invest in a location. This slide is from a KPMG report. Some of you may know it. It's called Competitive Alternatives, and it looks at locations around the world, and it looks at two things. It looks at business costs and the amount of taxes that a company pays in that jurisdiction. The business costs speak for themselves. We're somewhat competitive. This index puts the average US city at 100. So you can see San Diego is 99.9, 96.9 on the tax scale. You look at Vancouver, from a tax perspective particularly, we pay a fraction of the tax costs that you would south of the border and in a number of locations. But this is a very little told story. I talk to people, companies that are coming in from overseas all the time about Canada's tax story. And people are still under the impression that Canada has high tax rates, which was true 20, 25 years ago, but it's not true anymore. So it's a story that we have to tell people, because the perceptions around the world that Canada and BC are high tax jurisdictions is misguided. And so we would like your help in helping to tell this story to companies that are looking to invest into North America. More just on the economic outlook. You look across Canada, we have a very good story to tell in terms of future growth. One thing that AdvantageBC does a lot is we talk to banks. 我们会员公司有很多银行是参加我们这个IBA 的项目。中国银行、农业银行，他们把他们的加拿大的总部在温哥华成立了，不是在多伦多。为什么呢？因为他们来加拿大之前，他们问他们的客户，如果要来加拿大应该去哪里？他们的客户都说应该是温哥华，因为他们大多数的商业都是在这里。So it's a good story to tell, and we're getting a lot of traction from foreign banks that are looking to establish or to expand, we see a number of banks that are looking to set up their operations here in Vancouver, which is really a core mandate of AdvantageBC. Our view is that if you can establish the financial architecture, the financial infrastructure of the international business community, if I'm a Chinese company, a Japanese company, a Korean company, and I can come to Vancouver and my bank is here, it's going to be much easier for me to do business here because I'm loyal to my bank. So it is our view that by expanding the financial infrastructure, by getting more foreign banks to set up here, we will do well down the road. I think others will talk about trade, but you can see that British Columbia has the most diversified trade regime in the country, where almost half of our exports are going to Asia. And that sort of speaks to not only the diversification of our economy, but also the fact that we are Asia-facing much more than any other location in the country. 我现在要说这个 BC 省政府的一个税收的项目是很重要的。It's called the International Business Activity Program. The basic principle of this program is that if you are doing business from British Columbia into foreign markets, and like all companies, you're conducting financial transactions. You don't have to be a bank. You have to be doing international business and conducting business with offshore partners, earning income from somewhere outside of Canada. There is an opportunity to get a full refund of your BC corporate tax. Now, for those of you who don't follow tax, we have a two-tier tax structure in Canada. We have a federal corporate tax of 15%. The BC government charges you 11% corporate tax. So this program is in respect of your BC corporate tax. So if you're successful enough to actually pay tax, and I do believe that most companies aspire to pay tax someday, you can get a refund of that tax in respect of that income. It's quite simple, and quite frankly, we're surprised that more companies don't use the program. These are just some of the activities. 就是一些符合资格的活动，如果要参加这个项目。It is also my belief that those companies who are, say you're in the e-commerce business, you are in the overseas business, there may be an opportunity on your corporate treasury side to be able to save under this program as well. And we can answer any questions following this. If you have any questions, you can come up and ask us. 我们AdvantageBC也是大概3年前开始推动加拿大成为一个人民币结算中心。我们跟着我们多伦多的姐妹机构 Toronto Financial Services Alliance， 我们跟联邦政府跟他们 we spoke with the Canadian government. We were very anxious to promote Canada. We knew that the Chinese government was interested in expanding its settlement hubs around the world. As you know, the Chinese currency is still a restricted currency. It's not freely convertible. So if you want to do business in renminbi, in some locations, it's not easy. So what Canada has done is established a direct line that you can settle trade accounts directly between the Canadian dollar and the renminbi without having to go through the US dollar. Of course, most companies that are in the export business, the US dollar is written into your contracts. People don't even think about it. But there could be significant savings for companies if they want to do business with China, or for Chinese companies that want to do business in Canada, to sell your trade accounts directly between the two currencies, and therefore saving time, saving money, and saving risk. So this is another area that we feel very important about. You can always go to our website. We have a renminbi toolkit on our website. We're trying to educate people on what the advantages are of doing business in renminbi. The interesting thing about the renminbi hub in Canada is that when the Ministry of Finance and the People's Bank of China announced it, 他们说这个加拿大的人民币结算中心是为了就是北美的人民币结算中心。So what that means is there's an opportunity for companies throughout the Americas to use Canada as their hub for settling trade accounts in renminbi and for investment purposes. So we do believe that the renminbi hub, which is across the country, it's not Toronto, it's not just Vancouver, it's actually Canada is a renminbi hub. There are a number of very strategic advantages, along with the other reasons to do business in Canada, to use this as a place for doing international business. So that's all we have time for. Thank you very much. 谢谢大家, and we're happy to get your questions in the back later on. 谢谢大家.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell used to working for the General Counsel of Canadian in China for quite a long time, and now he is the Vice President of the AdvantageBC. His company actually is a local international business center. If you have the question, you can contact Mr. Mitchell later. We have the tea break. You can contact him.